Alright guys, this is your first review for the second quarter, so starting kind of fresh. For number 1, we have those exponents again. So you raise everything that's in the parentheses in the top to the negative second power. So this is going to turn into 5 times 2 to the negative second. You're not going to actually do that yet. X to the negative 6th. Y to the 0 times negative 2 is 0. Z to the positive 8th. Divided by x to the negative 8th, y to the 5th, z to the 3rd. I circle my negative exponents, including this 2 to the negative 2nd. We have x to the negative 6th. We have x to the negative 8th. So now I rewrite everything. So 5. I don't have to put this y to the 0 because y to the 0, anything to the 0 power is 1. So 5z to the 8th divided by y to the 5th, z to the 3rd. This 2 to the negative 2nd becomes 2 to the positive 2nd. In the bottom, I put it out front just because it's a coefficient. X to the negative 6th comes down to be x to the positive 6th, and then x to the negative 8th comes up to be x to the positive 8th. So then from here, your numbers, the coefficients, 5 over 2 squared is 4. 5 over 4 cannot be simplified. So let's do alphabetical order first. So we have x to the 8th divided by x to the 6th is x squared in the top. Y to the 5th is by itself, and that's in the bottom. And then z to the 8th divided by z to the 3rd is z to the 5th in the top. For number 2, this is that question that we had an issue with on our last test. The question says to rewrite it as the product of 4 linear factors. That means my final answer is going to look like this. 4 sets of parentheses. Okay? You're not going to multiply all of this out. You can, but then it leads into something that you do not know how to factor. So we are going to instead let u equal 3x squared plus 5x. So that when I replace this, now this is u squared minus 10u plus 16. And then I do master product on that. So master product, this gives me u squared minus 2u minus 8u plus 16. U times u minus 2 minus 8 times u minus 2. So this is u minus 2 times u minus 8. And then I plug my x's back in. So u is 3x squared plus 5x minus 2, and then this is 3x squared plus 5x minus 8. This still, though, is not my 4 linear factors, so I have to factor this further and this further, both using master product. So when I factor 3x squared, so let me rewrite this up here, 3x squared plus 5x minus 2, I'm not going to go through it again. I'm just going to tell you what your answer would be, but again, you're getting there from doing master product. Your answer, when you factor 3x squared plus 5x minus 2, you should get 3x minus 1 times x plus 2. And then on the other side, when you factor 3x squared plus 5x minus 8, you should get 3x plus 8 times x minus 1. So this is your answer. Again, if I ask you to factor, do not set them equal to 0 and solve it. I just want you to factor. Number 3, find all of the intercepts of the polynomial function. So all intercepts, that includes x-intercepts and y-intercepts. It wants you to do it algebraically, so no calculator. So x-intercepts are where y equals 0. So I write 4x to the 3rd minus 20x squared minus x plus 5 equals 0. I have to factor this to solve this equation. So over here I can take out 4x squared. I'm left with x minus 5. On this side, negative 1, I'm left with x minus 5. So this is x minus 5 times 4x squared minus 1 equals 0. You can keep factoring 4x squared minus 1, or you can solve it this way. If you choose to solve it this way, just make sure you include the plus and minus when you take the square root. So if I keep factoring now, x minus 5 times 4x squared minus 1 is 2x plus 1, 2x minus 1 equals 0. So then this gives me x equals 5, x equals negative 1/2, x equals positive 1/2. Now these are my zeros. They are not x-intercepts until I write them as points. So I have to write 5, 0, negative 1/2, 0, positive 1/2, 0. Too many of us lost points on that on the last test because you did not just write it as the point. Remember, it's the x value that you just solved for, comma, y is 0 for x-intercepts. Then for y-intercepts are where x equals 0. So y equals 4 times 0 to the third minus 20 times 0 squared minus 0 plus 5. You plug that in, you get y equals 5. Again, it's not a y-intercept, though, until you write it as a point. The x value is 0, comma, the y value just solved for is 5. These are your intercepts for number 3. Number 4, which function has the greater average rate of change? Average rate of change, another word for that is slope. Slope formula, y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. So we have to figure out the slope for each of these functions on this interval and then see which number is the larger one. Okay, again, if it's negative, you ignore the negative. So the interval that it gives you, that negative 2 to 3, those are your x values. So if I'll do f of x over here and g of x over here. So I have negative 2, comma, 3, comma. If I plug this into the calculator and I look at the table, I will see that at negative 2, the y value is negative 3 for f of x. And at 3, the y value is negative 28 for f of x. Then I actually plug that into the formula. So negative 28, again, y's are on top, negative 28 minus negative 3, or plus 3, divided by 3 minus negative 2, or just plus 2. I type this into the calculator. This gives me a slope of negative 5. I do the same thing for g of x. So I plug in negative 2 and 3, or I can just look at the table. Negative 2 gives me a y value of 7. 3 has a y value of 22. So if I do 22 minus 7 divided by 3 minus negative 2, this ends up giving me a slope of 3, or an average rate of change of 3. So which one has the greater average rate of change? F of x does. I don't care that this is negative. This one is decreasing faster than this one is increasing. I just want to know which one has the greater rate of change. Numbers 5 and 6 want the transformation. So you just list what happened on that function. So for number 5, this is moving to the right 5 and up 8. Okay, go back to that day and it lists all the rules for you. Right 5, up 8 for number 5. For number 6, there's more things going on. That just means that there's more rules. So that plus 4 tells me I'm going left 4. The times 2 out front, that's a stretch by a factor of 2. The negative and the 2 are two different transformations. The 2 tells me it's a stretch. The negative, that's a reflection. And because you have the negative all the way out front, you're negating all of the whole function. You're negating all of y. This is a reflection over the x-axis for number 6. And then the last thing, that minus 3 on the end, tells me that I move down 3 as well. Numbers 7 through 11, so really, and also including that system later on. But this is like the bulk of what we've been doing the past few days. So we have to solve the system. So when you're solving the system, you need coordinates, x's and y's. So for number 7, I am going to, you can rewrite these as y equals if you would like. The second one, I'm going to change this to be y equals 1 minus 2x. And then I'm going to take this y equals and I'm going to plug it in up here. So I have 1 minus 2x equals negative 2x squared plus 4x plus 9. I'm going to bring everything to the left side of the equal sign. That way my a value is positive. So this would be 2x squared minus 6x minus 8 equals 0. And then you can do master product on this. Or if you want to do completing the square or quadratic formula, you can. but I'm going to factor it. So if I take out, I can divide everything by 2, so this is x squared minus 3x minus 4. I do master product. I end up, after master product, this should be x minus 4 times x plus 1. So that gives me my x values are x equals 4 and x equals negative 1. I'm not done yet though, because I need the y values. Y, we just said y is equal to 1 minus 2x. Y is equal to 1 minus 2x. This is y is equal to negative 7. So this point is 4 comma negative 7. The other one, y equals 1 minus 2x. That would be 1 plus 2 is 3. So this point is negative 1 comma 3. Okay, so 2 parts to your answer for number 7. Number 8, this is a circle and a line. So you can rewrite this if you want as y plus 16 equals x. If you want to solve this for y equals, you can. Or you can just plug in for x, right, because we have equals x. You can take this y plus 16 and plug that in for x up here. So if you do that, this is now y plus 16 minus 6 squared plus y plus 4 squared equals 36. So I would clean up this polynomial before you double distribute rather than multiplying 3 things out. So this is y plus 10 squared plus y plus 4 squared equals 36. When I double distribute, I get y squared plus 20y plus 100 plus y squared plus 8y plus 16 equals 36. I'm going to combine like terms on the left side and set it equal to 0. My equation now is 2y squared plus 28y plus 80 equals 0. Again, I'm going to do master product. I'll take out a 2 first, so now it's y squared plus 14y plus 40 equals 0. When I do master product, I should end up with y plus 4 times y plus 10 equals 0, which gives me my 2 y values of negative 4 and negative 10. We know that x is equal to y plus 16. X is equal to y plus 16. This gives me x is equal to 12. So this point is 12 comma negative 4. Make sure you put x and y in order. X equals negative 10 plus 16 gives me 6. So this point is 6 comma negative 10. Again, has to be in that order. Can't switch them around. Number 9, this is a quadratic system. So you could have 2 answers for this as well. So for this one, these are both already y equals, so you can just set them equal to each other. 5x squared minus 21x plus 20 equals 3x squared minus 2x minus 15. Gonna set it equal to 0, so I subtract everything over to bring it to the left side, so 2x squared. If I add the 2, it would be negative 19x. Add the 15 would be plus 35 equals 0. This one ends up not being divisible by 2, but you can do master product on it now. When you multiply this, when you do master product on this rather, your final answer should be 2x minus 5 times x minus 7 equals 0. Okay, so I'm skipping a step here. You should be doing master product if you're not able to get the 2 binomials that it turns into. So this is x equals 5 over 2. This is x equals 7. I plug in to find the y values. So y equals, you could plug them into either one. 3 times 5 over 2 squared minus 2 times 5 over 2 minus 15 gives me negative 5 over 4. So this point is 5 over 2 comma negative 5 over 4. For 7, you do the same thing. Y equals 3 times 7 squared minus 2 times 7 minus 15. That gives you the point 118. So we have 7 comma 118 as well. Okay, 2 answers for number 9. Number 10, this is a circle on the top and a parabola on the bottom. So what I suggest you do, you could really do this either way. I'll do an example of each one since we do have two of these. What I suggest you do, y equals x squared minus 8. If I add the 8, I get x squared is equal to y plus 8. And I have x squared right here. So I would take this y plus 8 and plug that in for this. So y plus 8 plus y squared equals 10. You could also plug x squared minus 8 in for y and then double distribute that. Okay, so don't start correcting your answer just yet because you might still get the same thing as me, just doing it a different way. So this is y squared plus y and then minus 2 equals 0. When I do master product on this, I get y plus 2 times y minus 1 equals 0, which is y is equal to negative 2 and y is equal to positive 1. X squared is equal to y plus 8. So this is x squared equals 6. When I take the square root, remember it's plus and minus the square root of 6. So this actually ends up giving me 2 points for this. You have positive square root of 6, comma negative 2, and negative square root of 6, comma negative 2. You're going to do the same thing for when y equals 1. X squared equals y plus 8. So this one is x squared equals 9. X is equal to plus and minus 3. So this gives me another 2 points, 3, comma 1, and negative 3, comma 1. 4 answers. Again, it's a circle and a parabola. You could have 4 points. You could have less than that. You're not going to have more than that. Number 11. So number 11, I'll do the way that I was talking about before. This is a little bit more of a difficult way, but you can still do it this way. So y is equal to x squared minus 3. I'm going to take this piece, plug it in for y up here. So I have x squared plus x squared minus 3 minus 2 squared equals 425. X squared plus, this is x squared minus 5 squared equals 425. I double distribute the x squared minus 5. And I get x to the 4th minus 10x squared plus 25 equals 425. Combine like terms, subtract the 425 over. This will give me x to the 4th minus 9x squared minus 400 equals 0. You do master product on this just like before. I'm going to actually go through this master product though. So I multiply x to the 4th times negative 400. Two numbers that multiply to be negative 400x to the 4th, but add to be a negative 9x squared are going to be negative 25x squared, because everything is doubled right now, and a positive 16x squared. So this is x to the 4th minus 25x squared plus 16x squared minus 400 equals 0. Split it down the middle. I can take out x squared. I'm left with x squared minus 25. This side I would take out a positive 16, and I'm left with x squared minus 25 equals 0. 25. So this is x squared plus 16 times x squared minus 25 equals 0. I'm going to just go ahead and solve them. You can do master product again on the x squared minus 25. If I just split it down the middle, though, this would be x squared is equal to negative 16. When I take the square root, I would get x equals plus and minus 4i. We don't have imaginary points. That's not part of my answer, so I don't have to keep going with this. On the other side, though, x squared is equal to 25. When I take the square root of 25, remember you get plus and minus 5. So you really get 2 points out of this. You get one when x is 5 and one when x is negative 5. So y equals x squared minus 3. That gives me y is equal to 22. So I have 1 point is 5, comma 22. The other point is going to be the same thing because when you square negative 5, you get the same thing. So y equals x squared minus 3. Also gives me 22. So two answers to this question. You have 5, 22 and negative 5, 22. Numbers 12 and 13, it wants when f of x equals g of x. It does not say algebraically, so you can use your calculator for this. Plus it says round any decimals to the nearest hundredth. So that's how you know you're not going to be able to factor it anyway. So if you even try to set number 12 equal to each other, because these are both y equals, you don't know how to solve that. So you're going to type these into the calculator, look at the graph. The graph of this looks something like this. So this is the absolute value function, and this is the parabola. So, no, this is actually down here a little bit more. Kind of like that. Not really, but it is what it is. So to figure out when f of x equals g of x, you need to see where they intersect. They intersect in 2 points. One is right here, and the other is right here. So you are going to do second, trace, intersect. Second, trace, intersect, which is choice number 5. It says first curve, you end up right on top of the point. Press enter until it gives you the intersection point. We only want the x values because it says f of x equals g of x, and we are rounding to the nearest hundredth, so your answer is negative 0.78. That's one of them. You have to find the other one as well. Second, trace number 5 again. Now you move your cursor to be on top of the other point. 2 decimals, you should get 2.55. Okay, again, usually, unless it says algebraically, this usually would be a multiple choice question because you would just plug it right into the calculator. For the next one, if I plug this into y equals and I press zoom 6, you actually do not see the line. You see a little bit of the parabola, so this is what your screen looks like right now. You can't, well, you really don't see the top part of it, but you see it's kind of going like this, right? That's the typical direction of the parabola. You know, though, that your line has a y-intercept of positive 14, so you should know that you have to move your screen, your window. You want it to go up more. So if you press window and you change your y max, you can make it whatever you want, but if I make mine 30, I know I'm going to be able to see it. So this one actually is tangent to the parabola, meaning there's only one intersection point rather. So I press second, trace number 5, I end up right on top of the point again, and I keep pressing enter until it gives me my answer, which happens to be 5.93. Number 14, algebraically solve the system of equations. I told you guys in class to make sure you know how to justify. So what I want you to always do first is to plug this into the calculator and get what your answer is supposed to be. So you're going to press second matrix, going to go to edit. You're going to edit into a 3x4 matrix. You're going to put in 2, -1, 5, 5, -1, 3, 4, -19, 8, 4, -2, and 10. Then you're going to leave the screen, so you're going to press quit, and then you're going to go back into your matrix math. It's called RREF is the function that you need to do, and you have to choose the matrix you do it on, which is matrix A. That tells me my answer should be 3, -4, -1. The question says algebraically, though, so I have to back that up with the algebra. You have to show how you get that answer algebraically. So you're going to do elimination on equation 1 and 2 first. So I have 2x minus y plus 5z equals 5, -x plus 3y plus 4z equals -19. I am going to eliminate the x variable. So I multiply the second equation by 2. So now it's -2x plus 6y plus 8z equals -38. And then I add down. 2x, -2x cancels, so the second row is gone. -y plus 6y is 5y plus 13z equals negative 33. This is now my equation A. My equation B I get from doing elimination on 1 and 3. You can also do 2 and 3, not a big deal. So 2x minus y plus 5z equals 5. 8x plus 4y minus 2z equals 10. I have to get rid of the x variable again. So I'm going to multiply the second equation by negative 4. So now this is going to be negative 8x plus 4y minus 20z equals negative 20. Add down. 8x minus 8x cancels. I get 8y minus 22z is equal to negative 10. That is my equation B. Now I'm going to take A and B and do elimination on those two. So 5y plus 13z equals negative 33. And then 8y minus 22z is equal to negative 10. This is tougher because you have to multiply both equations by something. So I'm going to multiply this top equation by a negative 8 and the bottom one by a 5. That way my y's will turn into negative 40y and 40y. And then they're going to cancel. So 8 times negative 13 gives me, negative 8 times 13 is a negative 104. Z equals 264. And then on the bottom, 40y minus 110z is equal to negative 50. I add down 40y minus 40y cancels. I get negative 214z is equal to 214. So that means that z is equal to negative 1. Z equals negative 1, which matches what I have up here. So I know I can keep going. So once I get one of them, I'm going to then plug it into either A or B. So 5y plus 13z is equal to negative 33. I plug that in and I solve. That gives me 5y is equal to negative 20. So y is equal to negative 4. Then I plug both of these into one of the original equations. So I'm just going to plug it into the first one. 2x minus y plus 5z is equal to 5. It's a minus. So this is 2x plus 4 minus 5 equals 5. 2x minus 1 equals 5. 2x equals 6. X equals 3. So I have my y is negative 4 from here, and x is 3 from here. Okay? And then again, to justify, I plug all 3 points, x, y, z, into every single equation that's up there. Number 15, your first word problem. A daredevil jumps off a CN tower and falls freely for several seconds before releasing his parachute. His height in meters is a parabola. So this is him when he jumps off the tower. And after he releases his parachute, it looks like this. So this is essentially what happens. So let me erase this. The guy, daredevil, he jumps off the tower and he goes a little bit, opens up his parachute, and then he is a linear equation. Okay? It's just that this keeps on going and this keeps on going, technically, in your calculator if you were to plug the graphs in. So we want to know how long after jumping he released his parachute and how high in the air he was when he released it. So you want to know the intersection point. So you're going to set the equations equal to each other. Negative 5t squared plus 10t plus 175 equals negative 5t plus 125. Set it equal to 0. I'm going to bring everything to the right. That way my t squared becomes positive. Minus 15t. And then we have minus 50. Everything is divisible by 5. So I'm just going to do that to make it easier. So t squared minus 3t minus 10. If I do master product on this, I would get t minus 5 times t plus 2. So t is equal to 5, t is equal to -2. So at either 5 seconds or -2 seconds, that's when those two lines meet. We don't talk about negative time though. We don't care what happened before he jumped. So it takes he jumps and it takes 5 seconds before he releases the parachute. So that's the first part. The second part, how high in the air, that's the y value. So I would do y is equal to -5t plus 125. That gives me that the y value is 100. We're talking about meters. So he's 100 meters in the air. So he's 5 seconds and 100 meters in the air. And then for this last question, the revenue of a company selling microwaves gives you the revenue, it gives you the cost. We want to know when they break even. Break even is when the revenue is equal to the cost. These really should be T's, but. So you set these two equations equal to each other. Plus 29t plus 891. You want to know when they're the same, right? When the revenue is equal to the cost, you're not making any money, but you're not losing any money. Equals 429 minus 2t. This equation becomes, if I add everything to the right, that way my t squared is positive. That gives me -31t, and then this would turn into -462. Master product, I would get t minus 42 times t plus 11 when I'm done. So that would tell me 42 and -11. The question is the price. The price is the t. T is the price of each one. So once I get t, I do not have to plug that back in. So the price is either $42 or -$11. We're not selling for a negative price. So your answer is just $42. Okay? Extra help is Monday after school for your test on Tuesday. Have a good day.